living in Semarang. So there are people who's living there in daily life every day. You have the visitors coming every day in and out, but you live there for the whole time. So waste management is not only coming from the visitor, but it's also coming from the local residents. So this is need to be managed as well as part of the the movement towards these practices. And we also find some of the practices like using recycled like paper to be a souvenir, yeah, and or even like promoting a trip in the mangrove forest, yeah, because this is very important to our environment. Then next, Bawidi. All right, these are some of the strategy. I just a little bit like fast here. Like we have several strategy. What we need to do to establish a sustainable development of tourism. Yeah, we have several things to do. We have several homeworks. Yeah, like how we can support the government policy to promote and support sustainable tourism practices. This is a part of advocacy actually, but I'm sure the international relation also has the also has a way to do an advocacy for that in the policy level, yeah, and how to involve and partner among all the stakeholders that are relevant to sustainable tourism into a collaboration, a joint activity, joint promotion, because now collaboration is a key. We cannot work alone. We cannot work alone. Yeah, we need to make a partnership, to implement, to make this happen, to make this to be doable things. And what we need to do is also to improve our awareness to everyone, like we are doing right now, regarding to all stakeholders. What is actually the concept and practice of sustainable tourism by finding what we need to know about it, like finding the reference, like joining a class like this right now. This is also part of that. Yeah. So also like how we can do to improve product development. Okay, this is at the destination side, and also ensure the protection of local culture, of course. Yeah, because I believe the sustainable tourism is a way to conserve our local culture, is also a way to that, and aside of the protecting our natural heritage, and other things like ensuring that a protection of local culture in every aspect of tourism product and services offered to visitors. Yes, of course. So we see that so many souvenirs made from local wildlife, like endangered species becoming the souvenir. So we need to a little bit like limit it, or maybe like delete that kind of practices in our tourism activity. And also what we can do to ensure the local community can receive benefit, of course, yeah, and economic impact on ongoing tourism activities. By the end of the day, like I highlight before, there are 5 aspects of sustainable tourism. That the sustainable tourism is supporting conservation of natural and cultural heritage. It supports the education, where your visitation can have the experience. You can have the knowledge on your visitation. You got a new knowledge, you got a new experience. So it gives you something when you get back to your return home. And of course, it also includes the tourism aspect, the leisure. So what we are doing in the destination, with also considering the comfortability of the visitors coming to our destination, and also how this tourism activity can involve the community participation around in the destination, and of course economy aspect. Yeah, by the end of the day, it will not be sustainable if your products cannot be sellable in a sustainable way. So that's the thing we need to highlight. And then go to the next slide, Mbak Widya. Okay, we have already discussed what is it about, the sustainable tourism, etc. But I have to come up to this thing that there is still a challenge to implement this principle, of course. But one of the most important thing that I found during our experience, that business and industry, yeah, especially small and medium enterprise, they don't have sufficient information and knowledge, and they don't know where to go, where to find this information, and how to implement, how to make it doable, how to make this method to be implemented in their products and their services. You know, like for example, the accommodation. Okay, how can I implement and apply the concept of sustainability in our hotel, for example, because they don't have information, don't have the knowledge on that, and sometimes don't know where to do, because this is related to the access of information challenge, especially like in small and medium enterprises, because they don't know where to find, and the source of information is limited on how to implement these practices. They just don't know what to do. This is not about what they don't intend to do, because it's just about they don't know what to do. They don't have information on that. That's the most cases that I've found. And other challenge is how to elaborate, how to mixing this principle of sustainable tourism in your tourism products and services, and how to communicate your practice to the consumers. Because before, what we are fighting, not only before, is still going on until now. We see that lots of consumers, they don't know whether the hotel, the agent, or the tours that they, or the restaurant that they are consuming, applying the principle of sustainable tourism. I know that some very good chain hotel who already applied this principle into their daily operation, but it's too bad they don't inform this on their website. So their consumer don't know that they have already applied that. This is too bad. They have already applying what we call resource efficiency, because you know, like the hotels really consume so much of energy, right? Through the process of coal, you know, like the waste, you know, the pump for the water, and but they have already applied the sustainability principle in their operational, but they don't inform this. So sometimes this is actually the gap for the product producer here, and also the consumer. And the consumer also don't know where to pick the industry who apply these practices. So this is also another challenge. Yeah, like okay, how can I you know, as the industry, for example, how can I elaborate this principle into my services? Because most of the industry think the big thing, I need to put solar panel on my rooftop. Okay, it's good to have, yeah, if you can afford that, it's going to be a way for that. But starting for small step will be like very helpful for, you know, for starting these initiatives. And the last thing, sustainable tourism practice and implementation is considered high cost, of course. Yeah, so many, this is so many things that I heard a lot. Yeah, because the people think that, okay, installing LED lamps would cost a lot. Okay, like having, you know, like having you know, applying resource efficiency will cost a lot. Providing the water in the refill bottle water will be like you know, like making, it will be still a challenge for small and medium enterprises, because some of their consumers still don't trust the source of the water, and so many challenges on that. But you know, with this challenge, but I want to say two highlight of the things for this concept of if you consider that if the people think to apply sustainable tourism is high cost, like what is we need to consider whether the usage, the consumption of the products, and also the impact that has been generated by the use. So for example, you are using you are using the LED lamps, for example. This is maybe like high cost at the beginning, but during the operational things, during the daily life, besides it's minimize the impact to the environment, it's also it's also think about the usage time of the thing, and also it will reduce your monthly cost, to pay the electricity and etc. Yeah, and then also if you use another kind of unfriendly things, like you need to change that a lot, and then yes, it costly, it costs lower, but you need to change like several times. But sometimes you should compare that with you invest at the beginning. I know this is not easy for everyone, for some people, but then the usage timeline for that is becoming the longer, and the impact its cost will be like reduced. And other thing is it's also associated with research and development technology. As long as we don't have the mass technology that can produce the eco-friendly or the product and services that minimize the sustainability. So I think the minimize or choose wisely will be more like advantage for us. Okay, next. Oh, okay, that's the end of the slide. So thank you very much, everyone, for having me presenting and sharing. I would prefer to call this share. So I think we can continue that in the discussion session. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Ms. Wiwi, for the insightful materials. And I'm sure all the students here got new knowledge about sustainable tourism from now on. And of course, the participants all can wait to ask Ms. Wiwi. And now it's time for the students to raise some questions or deliver their points of view for the session. Okay, if you guys have something to be delivered, you may click the raise hand feature. And after I mention your name, you may ask it directly to Ms. Wiwi. So we will wait until, okay, there are 5 participants raised their hand. Okay, the first person is Anissa Antania Hanjani. Okay, you may ask it directly to Ms. Wiwi.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. And thank you very much for Ms. Wiwi for an eye-opening session. Actually, I enjoy it very much, and it triggers me with a very concerning question of mine. So actually, I love traveling so much, and I really love an educative tourist place. But there is something that makes me concerned. I see that so many places actually have many educative value, and they offer many local culture experience. But now there is this trending called aesthetic trending that makes us only make the place only for a picture only. Also, we place as a very good place to take a picture. That's all. And one that we can see in this case is the Old Town Semarang, or Kota Lama Semarang, as we know. This city, as far as I know, the government tried to include Semarang into World Heritage City in UNESCO in 2020, but actually the government did do something kind of over creativity by placing a non-related object into the old city itself, such as a box telephone like London, without making the educative value live, such as the history, why the Kota Lama is so important to us, why Kota Lama is so important during the Dutch colonialism and so forth. So how can we face this challenge in the perspective of sustainable tourism? Thank you.
Okay, Miss, maybe you may you answer the questions of Miss Anissa,
Okay.
please. Okay.
Thank you, Mbak Sarifah. So it's respond directly. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Anissa, for very interesting question, and also very interesting insight of you. And one thing I also happy to see, I'm excited to see that the young generation like you have the sustainable tourism. It cannot continue without the role of your generation. Yeah. Speaking on the current trend, it's been already. I think it's been, like if you remember that the first slide I mentioned about the trend of the social media influence, right? I think like your generation, like and also your generation, and also even my generation as well. They tend to see the social media as the preference and preference and reference. It's really influenced the way you see something. So but you live in the era of technology. You live in the era of the internet. We cannot avoid that. But one thing that that I want to highlight here: what do you plan? What kind of planning that you are determining? It attract the specific visitors. Like for example, you have the Instagrammable spot with the "I love you" things, that where you can post it on your social media, where it's becoming the hits, it's becoming the trends. But that kind of the development, the goals in a destination that are already determined will attract the visitor who's looking for that kind of thing. I mean, like for example, like I'm sure that a person like you who's like experiencing, getting the knowledge from the places that you visit, sometimes you find more information on that, right? So, I mean, like before you go, sometimes you're looking for the information about a place, but the thing also important, this is about the advocacy. Yeah, so like we have already discussed earlier, that sometimes the destination manager, even they are the government or the private sector who manage a destination, yeah, or like a community, even a community that who manage their tourism village or desa wisata, when they have their own certain goal, this is also influenced by the way of thinking, their knowledge on the tourism development, about the concept of tourism development, their preference and their reference of how to implement sustainability tourism concept in the development practices. So this is all about information and knowledge. So when they don't know how to implement that and they want to achieve one goal, well, I don't want to say I against that things, yeah, because it's happening in our in our daily life. I mean, in many destinations. I mean, it provides economic opportunity for some places. But what we need to do is like still engaging, to broader audience. This is part of your role, actually, of course, yeah, to spread the information about the importance of implementing of this concern on application of sustainability in tourism development and practices in the planning, in the implementation. And what is your role? If your role is as a tourist, as a visitor, what can you do to make a difference to your trip? what can you do to make it? So what can you do by promoting the concept through your social media, perhaps among your peers, among your friends? So we can start at a very small beginning steps. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be bigger, start with the small thing. We can do that. I mean, it start from you. Thank you very much, Anissa. It's over to you, Mbak Sarifah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wiwik, for the answer. We're going to the next questions. It's from Marlina Sugiarto. So, Miss Marlina, you may deliver your question, please.
Okay, hi, Miss Wiwi. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was so insightful. I want to ask two questions, if you don't mind. First is, I want to know how this tourism sustainable distribution of implementation, because we know, is it already cover almost a whole Indonesia, or it's still centered in Java? Because as we know that the eastern part of Indonesia itself is the biggest place of tourism. So the second one is, if I'm not mistaken, it was mentioned in the earlier presentation that you visited Thailand for some project about sustainable tourism. If is it any different between Thailand and Indonesia, or is there anything that Indonesia can apply about the sustainable tourism, or we can learn from Thailand? That's my two questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Miss Marlina. Would you please answer the question from Miss Marlina, Miss Wiwik? Okay.
Thank you, Mbak Sarifah. Thank you, Mbak Marlina, for the question. Again, yeah, it's I have other interesting question from the participant. So I found it, very wonderful to see your thoughts through the question. But what I can understand from the question is that you're asking about the difference between the development of tourism development in several places in Indonesia. Is that correct? Is that your question?
Yes.
Is that
yes.
why there is the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference level of tourism development across
Yes.
Indonesia.
Yes. Indonesia.
In Java,
Yeah.
Island, right? Is that the question? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that sometimes in many regions they have the potentiality, but sometimes the local people, what I means with the local means like the local government, at the region level, the local community, like for example in the village, or maybe like private sector associations, or somehow sometimes a region don't consider tourism as a part of their economic development focus. And I don't want to say it's not good, no, of course, because every region, every country, every region, they have their own focus. If there is a place, if there is a region has more resources in the fisheries, maybe they will put more focus on the fisheries. And if a region has more, more resources on the agriculture, they will put focus more on the agriculture. And when they have, like any other, like farming, agriculture and etc. in fishery, others than tourism. So we need to see whether tourism is one of the focus in the area. And okay, and okay, I'm sorry, I have the problem with my battery. I have to put on first. Sorry, I'll be back in 1 minute.
Okay, Miss Wiwik.
Okay, I'm back. and we also have the differences of level of development. Yes, between Java, Bali, and other islands of Indonesia, especially if you talk about Eastern Indonesia, we still have like the gap to be closed soon between the western part of Indonesia and also the eastern part. But right now, I think not only the government, yeah, but the private sector has already put the focus on the eastern side. For example, like NTT, Papua, it's becoming the focus on tourism development. That one of the super priority destination we have RPJM in 2020 and 2024, right? And inside that we have 10 priority destination, and we have 5 super priority destination, which is one of them is in Labuan Bajo and Likupang, which is actually part of Eastern Indonesia. So this is actually one of the ways to accelerate the development, especially for tourism, because tourism will generate, as this is a multi-sectoral, involve so many aspects, so many sectors, so it will encourage another sector to grow. So if tourism grow, it's not only the facilities, infrastructure, and resources for local community, but also for but for the region as a whole. That is what is actually going on right now. We are working on that. Everyone is working on that, and it's also in your hand again. Yeah. We need to do what we need to do to close the gap between the western side of Indonesia and eastern side of Indonesia. And one of other things is also we still face the challenge. Yes, of course, this is 2021, but we still talk about human resources gap. I'm sorry, but yes, we're still facing that challenge. So I think this is also the homework for all of us to accelerate the development. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I think you have the second question. Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Wiwik, about the different in between Indonesia tourism and Thailand tourism. I think that's the second questions.
Yes, thank you, Mbak Sharifah, to remind me. But Marlina, actually, well, I don't like to compare, yeah, but I just want to say the takeaway that I have from my stay in Thailand, that my research at that time, it was actually the visitor management concept project application in the national park itself. And what I've learned there, because tourism is one of their main focus in their main sector of development, they really work on that. It's coming from every level of the stakeholders. It's coming from the national, from the private sector, and also the community. I mean, like every stakeholder support towards that. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway that I have. I mean, like everyone knows what is the basic resources that they have for for tourism. So it means that they need to retain what they have. Like for example, I'm talking about resources. Like they keep reserve. The way they do to the way they visit. And I see also like in some, because I was working in national park at that time, and the national park itself also developed like their way. They have the system. They have visitor management system. Like to regulate where you can visit, at what time, and where the specific place to be closed should be closed, and where the dedicated spaces and site that you can visit, where you cannot visit, and where you can provide, the integrated interpretation, like where, the tourism information center, when you can get the whole ideas, the interpretation, the information about the parks, about the wildlife, about why this national park is important to the environment, to the life of many people around. So I think another takeaway is they manage very well because they know it's they retain this because they know it's their resources of economic. So they think that preserving the culture and conserving the nature is a way for them to keep the resources for them to for tourism as a way for their economic focus. Yeah, so these two, yeah, so collaboration and involvement of all stakeholders and integrated management in a destination is two biggest takeaway from that visit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wiwi. So we still have a lot of hands here. I think the next is from Yuta Triwaskita. So Mr. Yuta, you can ask it directly to Ms. Wiwik Mahdayani. So please.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Sharifatullah. Ms. Wiwik, can you hear my voice? Hello.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you properly.
Okay. Right. Perhaps I should turn off my video. Yeah. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Wiwik, for the nice presentation. Ms. Wiwik, I'd like to ask you. As we know, Indonesia is very gifted with a lot of local wisdom, and sometimes in that local wisdom is include the horror or mystical story. Yeah. In your opinion, in your professional opinion, can we count the horror culture? No, horror. What we call it? Tourism or mystical tourism as a sustainable development tourism, and is there any opportunity to empowering the horror tourism? Because as I recall that a lot of of course in the abroad that a lot of horror tourism like ghost hunter or speak to the another level of demon, something like that. Is there any opportunity to build something like tourism like that in Indonesia with our local wisdom? Thank you.
Okay, I think the question is about the might or the story behind the destination, and can it be such opportunities to our tourism, like the temple or so on, Miss?
Yes. Thank you, Mas Yuta, for the question, and thank you, Mbak Sharifah, to repeat the question for me. But what I understand, this is something that we call often like maybe black tourism, right? So I hear that circulating around us for those who's interested about the history behind a place, but the mystical story behind. But we have what we call also folklore, yeah. So folklore is also one of the aspect in our culture, which we cannot separate. But you know, in every country, even like before we talk about Thailand, if you remember, they also have the local ghost, yeah, called Pima, which they produce into a movie, which is actually the box office movie in Thailand and also outside of Thailand. And they put that local folklore, which is actually coming from a ghost named Pimak. This is actually included in one of their part of daily culture. Movie is the product of culture, right? I mean, like they elaborated in this folklore into, yes, this is not tourism, but actually one of the product of the culture. This black tourism, yes, for some places in Indonesia, and also for places in Southeast Asia, we share the same common things on this part of the folklore things. But if you talk about the opportunity to develop that, I'm always positive about every aspect of the tourism development. I mean, you have certain people, certain consumer who are looking for that, but somehow in some places the local community use the local folklore to conserve the natural heritage of the area, because sometimes it tend to be more people coming from outside who's doing destruction to the place, and they're trying to using this folklore, to this story behind, and also the mystical one, to conserve that place, which is actually originated from what they believe, like what we call local wisdom. So if you talk about the opportunity, there's always be the opportunity for that. There's always be the consumers who's looking for that. Maybe like the visitors who visited Lawang Sewu at night, like we're looking for the same things, what we, right. And then also, well, it's part of the in the tourism activity. I mean, like if we talk about the opportunity, there's always always be opportunity. But if you speaking of whether this is sustainable, so please also consider about 5 principles that we discussed the whole session. We talk about the aspect of the conservation and preservation, whether this is for natural heritage or cultural heritage. It talk about the education, whether the tourism destination can provide the information and knowledge for the visitors, and the visitors can make their visit a difference, by getting the experience, getting the information, getting the knowledge. And if give them leisure is the very most important part of the tourism, because you travel for leisure, for as one of the aspect of the trip, of course, aside of other objectives. And of course, it involves the people around, so you don't do it on your own, but you also like generating the local workforce to be part of the activity. Or maybe like I know the challenge sometimes is like the capacity, but there is a way like can work together to improve their capacity, and by the end of the day they can be as one of the part of the business of the tourism activity. And the other aspect is economy, of course, that this activity will provide the economic shares, economic advantages. So therefore this activity can be continued on, because if you develop and then you cannot sell it, and so the objective of preservation, cultural preservation, sometimes cannot be achieved. Or maybe like like making a place to be known and to be visited always has two sides, positive impact, negative. So but I'm really sure that we always can respond that we always can respond that. I mean, like like respond, like what the people call the negative aspect of that. What we need is not only like classify something into positive, negative, but still responding is the best way to that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Uta, for the questions, and Ms. Wiwik for the explanations. We still have 4 participants who raised their hand here. So the next question is come from Rifa from Indonesia. So Ms. Rifa, you may deliver your question, please.
Okay, first of all, thanks for the chance, and I would like to appreciate the really interesting and insightful explanation from Ms. Wiwik. I would like to ask your opinion about the miscommunication between the influencer and the government in Indonesia, where in 2020, the influencer are really promoting the tourism site called Labuan Bajo by visiting them and promoting them in social media such as TikTok and then Instagram. Meanwhile, at the same time, the government are prohibiting us to do traveling and visiting tourism site because of the rising case of COVID-19. As a visitors and as a young generation, what kind of act that we have to take to face this kind of situation and miscommunication between influencer who wants to develop the tourism side and the government who wants us to keep our health. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Rifa, for the question. So would you please answer the question, Ms. Wiwik?
Yes, thank you for the question again, Mbak Rifa. And I think this is about what I get, because before when you're asking, the voice is a little bit mixing up with the background. So I think, no, I'm sorry for that. I also need, I think what I catch is there is the influencer from outside of Indonesia who's promoting tourism development in Labuan Bajo.
I'm sorry, it's local influencer.
Local influencer who's promoting local tourism in I mean, like local influencer promoting Labuan Bajo, and also the government. Yes. Well, the destination is still there. Labuan Bajo will be. I know. This is like so many tourism industry now has suffering, for this situation. But sometimes we have these questions a lot, whether healthy aspect first or economic aspect first. So how to mixture these two aspects together, right? But I think if your visit can can generate the impact, I mean, like quote unquote impact, like we don't know, right? I mean, like you coming from one place into another place, and you bring I don't know, like you bring something like maybe the virus on the way, and where the local places that you visit doesn't have the sufficient health infrastructure facilities, so it will be a suffer for the destination itself. But I know in other thing it will help them in terms of economic. But this is what we have discussed earlier. Yes, we need a strategy how to make it future disruption more resilience and agile, to be more sustainable, equitable, and safe. But I think everyone also at a visitor site, at this time they also tend to be very careful when they visited a place. So right now we are also facing it right now in our office, like when we need to go outside of Jakarta, when we have the PPKM restriction, we have restriction across Indonesia. It is very difficult to get through to everywhere. We have very limited options for the flight. We have certain requirements, long requirement that you have along your trips. So I know, please save the destination for the next. I know it's suffering time for everyone, but I know we can face it together. And as a visitors, please ensure that your visit will be safe. Will be safe and bring a positive impact to the destination that you visit. So I'm sure we can face the situation afterwards. Yes.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rifa and Ms. Wiwi, for the explanation. The next question is come from Muhammad Alif. So, Mr. Muhammad Alif, you can deliver the question, please.
Check. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay, so before I ask my question, I'm really sorry I can't open my camera, because as soon as I open my camera, my connection will just tank. So I'm just gonna have to use my voice. So speaking of tourism, one of the, at least in my opinion, one of the most infamous thing that I was a part of. I mean, like I saw it, like in real time unfolding, is about the Jurassic Park in the Komodo Island. Yes, so like there, like even the like there are so many backlash coming from that project, and even there's like a like a picture where the Komodo dragon is blocking the truck. There are making the construction, etc. And there are also like I see it as a retaliation from the government. They are like taking down posts or tweets that are talking about it, etc. So this question is basically like I'm asking your opinion, Miss Wiwi. So in your opinion, with these kind of project that are, I think, like hastily done or done just because of, oh, look at this popular thing that will make us money, let's do a minimum amount of research and let's just do it, that kind of research, do you think like in some case the government, either it is the central government or the local government, do you think like they know about it, but they have no power to to prevent it, or they're just ignorant about it? Because as Komodo Island is one of the UNESCO heritage, and I'm gonna be really sad to see it just reduced to a tourism that is clearly unsustainable and clearly destroying the environment in that island. So that is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ali, for the question. And will you please answer it, Ms. Wiwi?
Thank you. Thank you, Pak Alif ya tadi. Pak Alif, thank you for question, and also Pak Sarifa. Yes, it's interesting, to hear this question. I know it's one of the most question that people posted a lot about what's happening in Komodo National Park. But for some degrees, as I'm not representing the government as well, I don't know in what side they are, whether they are ignorance or they don't know, or they just don't want to implement. I think I don't have the capacity to answer that thing, whether this is the part of ignorance, the part of uninformed.
Hello, Ms. Wiwi. Actually, we cannot hear your voice, Ms. Wiwi.
Excuse me, Wiwi, I think we lost you.
I'm back.
Okay, Ms. Wiwi.
I'm sorry for the disturbance on the connection before.
It's okay, Ms. Wiwi. Okay.
Yes, thank you. I continue on. Yes. Okay. So again, I'm sorry, I cannot answer in which level is that, but I think some of us, would like to, would like to use the terminology that sometimes we don't understand. Maybe the words, until now, I'm still questioning where the words Jurassic Park are coming from, and what it derives of, what the objective, or maybe this is just, giving the analogy of the places, or what is the objective of saying this place of the Jurassic Park. So maybe I should know as well the context of that, whether why in original places the people call it as a Jurassic Park. And other thing is what I found in Thailand, maybe their tourism development focus is different with us, and the response of the community is also different. But what I found that in many places, in many national park, in so many places like in Europe and also in Thailand as well. If we talk about my previous experience, they also put some basic facilities, which is considered on the nature, on the environment before they start the installment, before they start the development. I know the word development sometimes tend to be negative, like the people think to it's sometimes negative negative impacts, but I think in Indonesian, it's only in the question of the execution, I think. So, like for example, in Thailand, I faced in Khao Yai National Park, a place of the I'm sorry that I correlated to Thailand's national park because of because it's relevant to my experience before, and in some degrees, in some other places like in Thailand, they have like tourist information center. Like in Khao Yai, they have like a small scale. In some places, they have a tourist information center when the development, the installment under the framework of PPP, public-private partnership. So this is the development is supported by the private sector, and this is not government who developed that. This is the private who support for providing the visitors the information and the knowledge. So in some places, they put like observation tower, which is with the eco-friendly consideration before they install that in some places, like to watch where the wildlife passing, through that observation tower, when you can do like bird watching, and sometimes you can watch the elephants passing because this is at the crossing path of the wildlife. When I say that this is the basic facility actually, and when it's developed with the eco-friendly consideration, and think about, really consider a lot about the impacts, it will give also a contribution to the visit and also to the places. Like what I saw, they put on observation tower the interpretation board. Interpretation board is the media of communication where a destination like national park communicate the importance of the national park to the life of the people around, that it becomes the source of water, a source of the life of the wildlife who's living inside, and also the community who's living around. So I think whatever the development is happen, the conservation area should really think deeply about this about concept, about the sustainability concept, about the impact. But for some degrees, because in the national, even in Indonesia national park, we have some zonation, we have some zoning where the installment or development is limited through several restriction and regulation. So I think there should be a reaching point among that, the objective of that development, and also the impact before starting or commencing the installment of development in the area. So there are so many cases actually that we can learn that they are national park, how they can manage with their facilities, and please also separate information, what is actually should be done, what should be implemented in the right way. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Wiwi, for the explanation. The next question is come from Putri Indah. So, Miss Putri Indra, Putri Indah, you can deliver your question, please.
Hi, Miss. Sorry, I can't turn on the camera because the network is bad. It's cloudy today, so my Wi-Fi is not stable as usual. So next to my question, Miss Wiwi, as we know, to establish the sustainable tourism requires no small cost. I mean, it's not a huge cost. So what are the challenge and the opportunity for local investor to fund the sustainable tourism, Miss? That's all my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the question, Miss Putri. So would you please answer the question, Miss Wiwi?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Putri. Well, I think there are so many ways, so many considerations. Like I think I have already mentioned earlier that we need to consider about two things. First is the usage of the products that you apply, that you're using. The usage timeline of the product and services that you consume, that you're using, that you're applying. I mean, like sometimes if you need to invest in advance, maybe, but when you consider about the usage timeline, you're thinking about your daily operation during monthly, daily, annually. So that's the biggest. I mean, that's the one of the aspects that we need to consider. You know, like. Sometimes we buy something which is okay, cheap, and not really not really friendly to the to our environment and things like that. But the usage is very short. I mean, like we need to buy this over and over and over again. So first of knowledge on what doable application that we can implement in our tourism business and services operation, and what kind of services that we offer. I mean, like if you are homestay, it's going to be different with the like hotels with the 20 or 25 rooms, or even sometimes we have the big hotel, it's many rooms. So it's either big hotels with many rooms, they have to apply resource efficiency, energy consumption, because that's the biggest issues for them, and also the big operational costs. And so I think one of the things that we have already discussed before, think about the usage timeline of those products into the daily operation. When you invest the certain costs at the beginning, but then how much you need to spend for the next phase, rather than thinking about you invest less at the beginning, but then you have to cost monthly and again. So I think about the usage timeline. And the second, right now there are so many initiatives in fulfilling the sustainability. People tend to be more open to the eco-friendly plastic, for example. That tend to bring the tumbler during school or during working or during going outside, it's very small step, but we starting from the small step, so we can go bit by bit to bigger and bigger step for that. And unless we don't have the technology who provide us with the eco-friendly products in a mass number, still have the challenge on that. You can compare that how much you spend when you pay for biodegradable plastic, when you buy plastic in the market. You can compare the price. It's very cheap. Plastic is very, like plastic in the market is very cheap, but we don't have yet the technology, to mixing this objective. But then we have the options in our life, whether we want to use that cheap one to be reusable things, like we use that over and over and over again till we cannot use that again. And then, or we have the option to buy that biodegradable things that we spend something more. And then we think about the impact that we give to our daily life. So these two things need to be considered for to implement in the sustainability in our services, in our industries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Wiwik, for the explanation. Next question is come from Pinkan Kaligis. So, Ms. Pinkan, you may deliver your questions, please.
Hi, Ms. Wiwik.
Hello.
I would like to ask you questions. So previously you've shown the policy regarding to this topic, right? So what are the efforts to encourage actors who have more power to act in accordance with the policies and principles that have been made? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Pinkan, for the question. Well, yes. Even like if we talk about the actress, the artist who's famous, phenomenal, popular, it's unfortunately they can use, this is not unfortunately, they can use their voice and power of influence, actually for the policy advocacy. But I know sometimes, especially in nowadays social media era, so this is very easy to catch, to attract the attention of the people, to the netizen, to young millennials generation, ask them to act, ask them to make a cause, ask them to support your cause in environmental sustainability or tourism sustainability or cultural heritage sustainability. So this is very easy using the social media platform to engage and to encourage people. But regulation is something that needs to take a place and time. So sometimes when you have the bigger voice to your policy advocacy that relevant to sustainability, that you need a long process to make it, to achieve your goals of your cause. Because regulation is something that takes, it's not that simple to change. Change is not simple, right? Change is something that you need to, that you need to face. You can sometimes it's easier to initiating rather than to change. Right. So when you try to change, when you want to encourage, want to do a policy advocacy, well, right now, the most effective ways, one of the most effective ways of tools across others, among many others, still in social media, so like engaging the young generation to support the cause and to support policy advocacy. But again, I have to say that to make one regulation on publish or deleted or to be renewed, it's actually a process.
Thank you. Ms. Wiwik.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pinkan, for the question and the answer from Ms. Wiwi. Okay, the next question is from Maria Jessica. So, Ms. Maria, you may deliver your question, please.
Hello, Ms. Sharifa and Ms. Wiwik. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank Ms. Wiwik. Thank you so much for such an interesting presentation from Sustainable for Tourism. But there are one thing that I'm still curious about the field and usage of language to the tourism. So we all know that Indonesian language already has a strategic position in the world. Like many people know, Indonesian language is such an many people speaks Indonesian, right? And so I will reflect this case to how France and their tourism treat their tourists to expect them to already know some French. So tourists that want to come to France, they expect to have decent knowledge to speak in French like that. So I want to ask, should we Indonesian tourism try to use this perception to the tourists which want to come to Indonesia, to expect them to know decent Indonesian and communicate well with Indonesian language. And I think that this can be a way to internationalize our language, and thus this action could be one of sustainable tourism practice like that in the future. Since before I don't see the language aspect in the sustainable tourism practice in your presentation before like that. Thank you, Ms. Wiwik.
Okay, thank you, Miss Maria, for the question. And would you please answer the question from Miss Maria, Miss Wiwi?
Thank you, Miss Maria, for the question. And it's interesting that you give the case of France, yeah, because yes, we know how difficult it is for visitors, like to interact with the local people there, because they tend to be not okay. I don't want to speak English and things like that. I know how difficult it is, but it's still the number one most visited destination in the world, right? According to UNWTO statistic. Even though the local community don't want to speak in foreign language, well, the people still coming, but so many other industry also right now. I see the change. They try to speak English, which is actually a contradictory to the previous the previous experience of the visitors. I've seen in the current years they have changed that culture. You still can find in many stores they try to speak in international language, like some speak Mandarin, some speak English, and even for some of branded store, they put specialized person who speak the national language of their customer, to serve for that. I know this is a big dream. This is very good, yeah, to introduce and to internalize our language. Yes, don't forget also, we also have another 750 ethnical language across Indonesia too. And we still find old people in some remote area in Indonesia who cannot speak Bahasa Indonesia, but their local language. And but I know there are several, I think Indonesian embassy in other country also has those who has the cultural center introduce a program of Bahasa Indonesia introduction, yeah, in the respective countries. So this is one of the it's already a way to internalize the language. But speaking on the about the way to interact in Bahasa Indonesia, whether we tend to respond in Bahasa Indonesia. Well, it's actually happening across some places in Indonesia already, because some of the people in a tourism destination, they don't speak English, but some international visitors have already visited. So those who can respond, this is only, well, the only stakeholder who can respond is the travel agent who's coming with them, or some stores who can respond. Even in some of the big cities, if you watch, it's happening. It's already, not, the people who serve in warung, even in the city. Well, maybe you can act sometimes to pretend to be, a foreign person, ask them in English, but trust me, they cannot respond you. I mean, like the warungs. But I know some of the tourism destination in Indonesia has different strategy, because they think if they can provide, if they have the people who can speak international language, it can encourage the visitation, it can make the communication easier, so it can avoid the miscommunication and misunderstanding balance among both parties. And well, I know it still needs to be tested, long way to go, but if you're asking about that strategy, it's already happening right now. I mean, like without we plan actually for that. I mean, like like the local community that most of international visitors finding in many places, even major tourism destination in Indonesia. I found that sometimes like the private sectors, either who work together with the international visitors, sometimes they don't do it. I mean, like they don't have the capacity, I mean, to speak English very well, fluently. I mean, like you class here, I mean, like participants here. So it's still a challenge, I know, but we also have so many strategy to introduce Bahasa Indonesia, yeah, like what I mentioned earlier. The Indonesia Embassy Cultural Center always have the Bahasa Indonesia classes in the country, in the respective country where they work. Yeah.
Sharifa, you still on mute, Sharifa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for Miss Maria for the question and the explanation from Miss Wiwi. I think question from Miss Maria is the last question we have in this first session. So maybe Miss Wiwi, do you have any closing statements, or would you please give little motivation for young generation to be more concerned about sustainable tourism or something like that?
Yes. First of all, for everyone here, it starts from you. Yeah. So when we talk about act locally, think globally, it really starts from you. We cannot say that, okay, we have to do this, we have to do that, but you don't start us. So it starts from you. So, and collaboration is a key to implement the sustainability in tourism development. And it starts from the collaboration of everyone and every sector involved and every party is involved. So we cannot work alone. So this is not a work alone part. Yeah, sustainable tourism is many people's issues that we need to work together towards that, to achieve this, to implement that, to spread the information and knowledge on that. And this is also in your hand, because you are the young generation. You have easier access to the internet, to the social media. You have your peers. You can spread and disseminate this information, your concept of sustainability to around. So this is start from you, everyone. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Miss Wiwik, for the outstanding presentation. And I think that's all the materials and answer from Miss Wiwik. Thank you for all the participants in this first session. And before we continue to the break time, we will have some photo session. So please turn on your camera, guys, and I will count 1 until 3. So the operator, 2, 3. Okay, the last one, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much. This is the end of the first session. After this, you'll have some break and continue the second session. You may leave the room and please go back again at 2:45 for the second session with Mr. Jovan Kanari. So thank you so much for all the participants and for Miss Wiwik Mahdayani. See you again, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everyone.
Wiwik.
Stay well, stay healthy, stay safe there. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Wiwik.
Miss Wiwik.
Assalamualaikum. Have a good day.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss.
Okay.